The winning of Olwen. There was once a king and queen who had a little boy, and they called his name Kilwich. His mother, the queen, soon fell ill after his birth, and she could not take care of him herself. She sent him to a woman she knew up in the mountains, so that he might learn to grow up in all weathers, and bear heat and cold, and grow tall and strong. Kilwich was quite happy with his nurse, and ran races and climbed hills with the children who were his playfellows. And in the winter, when the snow lay on the ground, sometimes a man with a harp would stop and beg for shelter, and in return would sing them songs of strange things that had happened in the years gone by. But long before this, charges had taken place in the court of Kilwich's father. Soon after she had sent the baby away, the queen became much worse. And at length, seeing that she was going to die, she called her husband to her and said, "Never again shall I rise from this bed, and by I will take another wife. But lest she should make thee forget thy son, I charge thee that thou not take a wife till thou see a briar with 2 blossoms upon thy grave." And this he promised her. Then she further bade him to see to her grave that nothing might grow thereon. And likewise he promised her, as soon as she died, for 7 years the king sent out a man every morning to see that nothing was growing on the queen's grave. But at the end of 7 years he forgot. One day when the king was out hunting, he rode past the place where the queen lay buried. There he saw a briar growing, with 2 blossoms on it. "It is time that I took a wife," he said. And after long looking, he found one. He did not tell her about his son. Indeed, he hardly remembered that he had one, until she heard it at last from an old woman whom she had gone to visit. And the new queen was very pleased, and sent messengers to fetch the boy, and in his father's court he stayed. All the years went by, till one day the queen told him of a prophecy that was foretold that he was to win for his wife Olwen, the daughter of Yspaddaden Penkawr. When he heard this, Kilwich felt proud and happy. Surely he must be a man now, he thought, and there would be no talk of a wife for him. And his mind dwelt upon day until his promised bride, and what she would be like when he beheld her. "What aileth thee, my son?" asked the father at last. And Kilwich had forgotten something he had been bidden to do, and Kilwich blushed red as he answered, "My stepmother says that none but Olwen, the daughter of Yspaddaden Penkawr, shall be my wife." "That is easily fulfilled," replied his father. "Arthur's king, thy cousin. Go therefore unto him, and beg him to cut thy hair, and to grant thy son this boon." Then the youth pricked forth upon a dapple-grey horse, 4 years old, with a bridle of linked gold, and a saddle upon him. In his hand he bore 2 spears of silver with heads of steel, a war-horn of ivory that was slung around his shoulder. By his side hung a golden sword. Before him were 2 bridled, white-breasted greyhounds with collars of rubies around their necks, and the one that was on the left side bounded across to the right, and the one that's the right side to the left, like the 2 sea swallows sported around him. And his horse cast up 4 sods with his 4 hoofs, like 4 swallows in the air about his head, above now and now below. About him was a robe of purple, and an apple of gold was at each corner. Every one of the apples was of the value of 100 cows. The blades of grass bent not beneath him, so light were his horse's feet that he journeyed toward the gate of Arthur's palace. "Is there a porter?" cried Kilwich, looking round for someone to open the gate. "There is, and I am Arthur's porter every first day of January," answered a man coming up to him. "The rest of the year there are other porters, and among them is Pepinpyon, who goes upon his head to save his feet." "Well, open the portal, I say." "No, that I may not do, for none can enter save the son of a king or a peddler who sells goods to sell. But also there will be food for thy dogs, and hay for thy horse, and with the 3 collops cooked and peppered, and sweet wine shall be served in the great guest chamber." "That will not do for me," answered Kilwich. "If thou wilt not open the gate, I will send up 3 shouts that shall be heard from Cornwall to the north, and yet again to Ireland." "Oh, clamour however thou mayest," said Gillen, the porter. Thou shalt not enter until I first go and speak with Arthur. Then Gilwell went into the hall. Arthur said to him, Hast thou news from the gate? And the porter answered, Far I've travelled, both in the island and elsewhere, and many kingly I have seen, and I have never yet beheld the equal in majesty to him who now stands at the door. If walking thou didst enter here, running thou shalt return, replied Arthur, and let every one that opens or shuts their eye show him their respect and serve him, for it is not meet to keep with such a man in the wind and rain. So Olwen unbarred the gate, and Kilwich rode upon his charger. Greeting to thee, O ruler of this land, cried he, and greeting no less to the lowest than to the highest. Greeting to thee also, answered Arthur. Sit thou between two of my warriors, and thou shalt have minstrels before thee, and all that belongs to one born to a king, whilst thou remainest in my palace. I am not come, cried Kilwich, for meat and drink, but to obtain a boon, and if thou grant it to me, I will pay it back, and will carry the praise to the four winds of heaven. But if thou wilt not grant it to me, then I will proclaim thy discourtesy wherever thy name is known. What thou askest thou shalt receive, said Arthur, as far as the wind dries, and the rain moistens, and the sun revolves, and the sea encircles, the earth extends, save only my ship and my mantle, my sword and my lance, my shield and my dagger, and Guinevere my wife. I wouldst thou bless my hair, said the witch, and Arthur answered, That shall be granted thee. Forthwith he bade his men fetch him a comb of gold and scissors with loops of silver, and he combed the hair of Kilwich the Great. Kilwich's guest. Tell me who thou art, he said, for my heart warms to thee, and I feel thou art come of my blood. I am Kilwich, son of Kilydd, replied the youth. Then my cousin thou art in truth, replied the answer, and whatsoever boon thou mayest ask thou shalt receive. The boon I crave is that thou mayest win from me Olwen, the daughter of Yspaddaden Penkawr, and this boon I seek likewise at the hands of thy warriors, from Sol, who can stand all day upon one foot, from Osel, who, if he were to find himself on the top of the highest mountain in the world, could make it into a level plain with the beat of a bird's wing, and from Clust, who, though he were buried under the earth, could yet hear the ant leave in a nest 50 miles away, and these from Cain of Bedwar, all thy mighty men, I crave this boon. Kilwich, said Arthur, never have I heard of the mention of the maiden whom you seekest, nor of her kindred, but I will send messengers to seek her, if thou wilt give me thine time. From this night to the end of the year, right willingly I will grant thee, replied Kilwich. But when the end of the year come, and this messengers returned in Kilwich's wrath, and spoke rough words to Arthur. It was Kay, the bravest, the boldest of the warriors and swiftest of foot, who had passed 9 nights without sleep and 9 days without water, that answered him. Rest youth thou art, darest thou speak thus of Arthur? Come with us, and we will not part till we have won the maiden, or till thou confess that there is none such in the world. Then Arthur summoned his 5 best men and bade them go with Kilwich. There was Bedwar, the one-handed, Kai's comrade and brother in arms, the swiftest man in Britain, save Arthur. And then there was Kilydd, who knew the paths in the land where he had never been as surely as those he had known of his own country. Then there was Grethwar, who could speak all the tongues, while Machi, the son of Gwar, would never return till he had gained what he sought. And last of all there was Minwar, who could weave a spell under them so that none might see them, and while they could see everyone. So these 7 journeyed together till they reached a vast open plain in which the fair castle. But though it seemed so close, it was not until the evening of the 3rd day that they really drew near to it, and in front of it a flock of sheep was spread, so many in number that there seemed no end of them. A shepherd stood on a mound watching over them, and by his side was a dog, as large as a horse, and 9 winters old. "Who is this castle, herdsman?" asked the knights. "Stupidly that, truly," replied the herdsman. "All the world knows this is the castle of Yspaddaden Penkawr." "And who art thou?" "I am called Corstinin, brother of Yspaddaden, and ill has he treated me. And who are you, and what do you do here?" "We come from Arthur the king, to seek Olwen, the daughter of Yspaddaden." But this news, the shepherd gave a cry. "Oh, men, be warned and turn back, yet there is time. Others have gone on that quest, and none have escaped to tell the tale." He rose quick to his feet as if to leave them. Then George told him how to ring of gold, and tried to put it on his finger, but it was too small, and so he placed it in his glove, and went home and gave it to his wife. "Whence came this ring?" asked she, "for good luck is not wont to befall thee." "The man to whom this ring belongs thou shalt see here in the evening," answered the shepherd. "He is Kilwich, son of Kilydd, cousin of King Arthur, and he has come to seek Olwen." And when the wife heard that, she knew that Kilwich was her nephew, and her heart yearned after him, and half with joy at the thought of seeing him, and half with sorrow for the doom she feared. Soon they heard steps approaching. Kay and the rest of the house came in to eat and drink. After that the woman opened a chest, and out of it came a youth with curling yellow hair. "It is a pity to hide him thus," said Gilwer, "for well I know that he has done no evil." 23 of my sons has Yasin slain, and I have no hope for saving this one," replied she. And Kay was full of sorrow, and answered, "Let him come with me and be my comrade, and he shall never be slain unless I am slain also." And so it was agreed. "What is your errand here?" asked the woman. "We seek Olwen, the maiden, for this youth," answered Kay. "Does she come hither so that she may be seen?" "She comes every Saturday to wash her hair. In the vessel where she washes she leaves all her rings, and never does she see such an end to a messenger to fetch them." "Will she come if she is bidden?" asked Kay, pondering. "She will come, but unless you pledge me your faith that you will not harm her, I will not fetch her." "We pledge it," said they, and the maiden came. The fair sight was she in a robe of flame-colored silk, and a collar of ruddy gold around her neck, bright with emeralds and rubies. More yellow was her head than the flower of the broom, and her skin was whiter than the foam of a wave, and fairer were her hands than the blossom of the wood anemone. 4 white trefoils sprang up where she trod, and therefore she was called Olwen. She entered and sat down on the bench beside Kilwich, and he spake to her. "Ah, maiden, since I first heard thy name I have loved thee. Wilt thou not come away with me from this evil place?" "I cannot do so," she answered, "for I have given my word to my father not to go without his knowledge, and for his life only last so I am betrothed. Whatever is must be, but this counsel I will give you. Go, and ask me of my father. Whatsoever he shall require of thee, grant it, and thou shalt win me. But if thou dost deny him anything, that will not obtain me, and it will be well for thee if thou escaped with thy life." "All this I promise," said he. So she returned to the castle, and all Arthur's men went after her, and entered the hall. "Greeting to thee, Yspaddaden Penkawr," they said. "Come to ask thy daughter Owen for Kilwich, son of Kilydd." "Come hither tomorrow, and I will answer you," replied Yspaddaden Penkawr. As they rose to leave the hall, he caught up one of the 3 poisoned darts that lay beside him, and flung it in their midst. But Bedwar saw it, caught it, and flung it back so hard that it pierced the knee of Yspaddaden. "Gentle son-in-law, truly," he cried, writhing in pain. "I shall ever walk the worse for this rudeness. Cursed be the smith who forged it, and the anvil with which it was wrought." That night the men slept in the house of Custennin, the herdsman, and the next day they proceeded to the castle and entered the hall. "Yspaddaden Penkawr, give us thy daughter, and thou shalt keep her dower, and unless thou wilt do this, we will slay thee." "Her 4 great-grandmothers and 4 great-grandfathers yet live," answered Yspaddaden Penkawr. "It is needful that I take counsel with them." "Well, be it so. We will go to meat." But then they turned and took up the second dart that lay by his side, and cast it after them. And Menor caught it, and flung it at him, and wounded him in the chest, so that it came out his back. Gentle son-in-law, truly, cried Yspaddaden. The iron pains me like the bite of a horse leech. Cursed be the hearth whereupon it heated, and the smith who formed it. The third day Arthur's men returned to the palace in the presence of Yspaddaden. Shoot not at me again, said he, unless thou desire death, but lift up my eyebrows, which have fallen over my eyes, that I may see my son-in-law. And they rose, and they did as Yspaddaden took the third poisoned dart and cast it at them. Kilydd caught it and flung it back, and it passed through his eyeball and came out to the other side of his head. A gentle son-in-law, truly, cursed by the fire in which it was forged, and the man who fashioned it. The next day Arthur's men came again to the palace and said, Shoot not at any of us any more, unless thou desire the pain even thou hast, but give us thy daughter without more words. Where is he that seeks my daughter? Let him come hither, so that I may see him. And Kilwich sat himself in a chair and spoke face to face with him. Is it thou that seekest my daughter? It is I. First, give me thy word that thou wilt do nothing towards me that is not just. When thou hast won from me that which I shall ask, then thou shalt wed my daughter. I promise right willingly, said Kilwich. Name what thou shalt. See thou yonder hill. Well, in one day it shall be uprooted and plowed and sown, and grain will ripen, and of that wheat I will bake the cakes for my daughter's wedding. It will be easy for me to compass this, although thou mayst deem it not easy, answered Kilwich, thinking of Oswald, under whose feet the mightiest mountain became straightway a plain. But Yspaddaden paid no heed, and continued. Seest thou field yonder? When my daughter was born, 9 bushels of flax were sown therein, but not one blade has sprung up. I require thee to sow fresh flax from the ground, that my daughter may wear a veil spun from it on the day of her wedding. It will be easy for me to compass this. Though thou compass this there, that which thou wilt not compass. For thou must bring me a basket of Gwengalahare, which will give meats to the whole world. It is for thy wedding feast. Thou must also fetch me the drinking horn that is never empty, and the harp that never ceases to play till it is bidden. Also the comb and scissors and razor that lie between the 2 ears of Tirith the bull, so that I may arrange my hair for the wedding. And though thou get this, yet there is that which thou wilt not get. For Tirith the bull will not let any man take from him the comb and the scissors, lest Droden the whelp hunt him. But no leash in the world can hold Reuben, save the leash of Cat Elwyn, and no collar will hold the leash except the collar of Canhastia. It will be easy for me to compass this, though thou mayest think it will not be easy, George answered him. Though thou get all these things, yet there is that which thou wilt not get. Throughout the world there is none that can hunt with his dog save Mabon, the son of Modron. He is taken from his mother when 3 nights old, and does not know where he is now, nor whether he is living or dead. And though thou find him, yet the boy will never be slain, save only with a sword of Wonosh the giant. And if thou obtain it, neither shalt thou obtain my daughter. Horses shall I have, and knights from the Lord Arthur, and I shall gain thy daughter, or thou shalt lose thy life. The speech of Kilwyn, the son of Kilwyn, with Yspaddaden Penkawr, was ended. Then Arthur's men set forth, and Kilwich with them, and journeyed till they reached the largest castle in the world, and a black man came out to meet them. Whence comest thou, old man? They asked, and whose is that castle? It is a castle of Renarch the giant, as all the world knows, answered the man, and no guest ever returned thence alive, and none may enter the gate except craftsman who brings his trade. But little of Arthur's men heed this warning, and they went straight through the gate. "Open!" cried Willow. "I will not open," replied the porter. "And wherefore?" said Kai. "The knife is in the meat, and the drink is in the horn, and there's rival in the hall when it's a giant. Save for a craftsman who brings his trade, the gate will not be open tonight." "Verily then, I may enter," said Kay, "with no better burnisher of swords than I." "This I will tell Gwynich the giant, and I will bring thee his answer." "Bid the man come before me," which when the porter had told his tale, "for my sword stands much in need of polishing." So Kay passed in and saluted Gwynich the giant. "It is true what I hear of, thou canst burnish swords." "It is true," answered Kay, and then the sword of Gwynich was brought to him. "Shall I burnish it white or blue?" said Kay, taking the whetstone from under his arm. "As thou wilt," answered the giant, and speedily Kay polished half the sword, and the giant marveled at his skill and said, "It is wonder that such a man as thou shouldst be without a companion." "I have a companion, noble sir, but he has no skill in this art." "What is his name?" asked the giant. "Let the porter go forth, and I will tell him how he may know him. The head of his lance will leave its shaft and draw blood from the wind and descend upon the shaft again." So the porter opened the gate, and Bedwyr entered. Now there was much talk amongst those who remained without the gate that opened upon Bedwyr. Goreu, the son of Cussland, prevailed with the porter. And when he and his companions got in also, they hid themselves. By this time the whole of the sword was polished, and Kay gave it to the hands of Gilnoy the giant, who felt it and said, "Thy work is good. I am content." Then said Kay, "It is thy scabbard that hath rusted the sword. Give it to me that I may take out the wooden sides and put in new ones." And he took the scabbard in one hand and the sword in the other, and came and stood behind the giant, as if he would have been sheathed the sword in the scabbard. But with it he struck the blow to the head of the giant, and rolled from its body. And they despoiled the castle of its gold and jewels, and returned, bearing the sword of the giant, to Arthur's court. They told Arthur how they had sped, and they took all counsel together, and agreed that they must set out on the quest of Mabon, the son of Modron, and Kilwich, who knew the languages of beasts and of birds, went with them. So they journeyed until they came to the nest of Elsel, and Grahorn spoke to her. "Tell me what thou knowest aught of Mabon the son of Modron, who will be taken when 3 nights old from between his mother and the wall." And they also answered, "When I first came here I was a young bird, and there was a smith's anvil in this place. But from that time no work has been done upon it, save that every evening I have pecked at it, until there is now not much more the size of a nut remaining thereof. Yet all this time I've never once heard of a man you name. Still, there's a race of beasts older than I, and I will guide you to them." So the also flew before them, and they reached the stag of Redmer. And they inquired of the stag whether he knew aught of Mabon, and he shook his head. "When I first came hither," he said, "the plain was bare, save for one oak sapling, which grew up to be an oak with 100 branches. And all that is left of that oak is a withered stump. But never once have I heard the man you name. Nevertheless, as you are Arthur's men, I will guide you to a place where there is an animal older than I." And the stag ran before them till he reached the owl carrying Kilydd. But when they inquired of the owl if he knew aught of Mabon, he shook his head. "When come first thou hither," he said, "the valley was a wooded glen, then a race of men came and rooted it all up. After that there grew a second wood, and then a third, which you see. Look at my wings also, are they not withered stumps? Yet until today I have never heard of the man you name. Yet still I will guide you to the oldest animal in the world, and the one that has traveled the most, the eagle of Gwern Abbey." And he flew before them as fast as his old wings would carry him, till he reached the eagle of Gwern Abbey. But then they inquired of the eagle whether he knew not Mabon, and he shook his head. When I first came hither, said the eagle, there was a rock here, and every evening I pecked at the stars from the top of it. Now behold, it is not an even span high. But only once have I heard the name of the man, and that was I went in search of food as far as Woo and swooped down upon a salmon and struck my claws into him. But when he drew me down under the water, I scarcely could escape from him. Then I summoned my kindred to destroy him, and he made peace with me. But I took 50 fish spears from my back. Unless he may know something of the man whom I seek, I cannot tell who may. But I will guide you to the place where he is. So they followed the eagle, who flew before them. Though so high, since he was in the sky, it was often hard to mark his flight. At length he stopped above a deep pool in a river. "Salmon of Leo, come to thee with an embassy from Arthur to inquire if thou knowest aught concerning Mabon, the son of Modron." And the salmon answered, "As much as I know I will tell thee. With every tide I go up the river until I reach the walls of Gloucestershire. There I have found such strong I've never found elsewhere. And on that you may see what is true. I say to you, let the two of you go kneel on my shoulders." So Kay and Ware went on the shoulders of the salmon, and were carried up the walls of the prison, from which proceeded the sound of great weeping. "Who is at the laments in this house of stone?" "It is I, Mabon, the son of Modron." "Who silver or gold buy thy freedom, or only battle and fighting?" asked one again. "By fighting alone shall I be set free," said Mabon. Then they sent a messenger to Arthur to tell him that Mabon was found, and he brought all his warriors to the castle of Gloucestershire, and fell fiercely upon it, while Kay and Bedwar went on the shoulders of the salmon to the gate of the dungeon, and broke it down, and carried away Mabon. And now being free, he returned home with Arthur. After this, on a certain day, as Gedwar was walking across a mountain, he heard the grievous cry, and he hastened towards it. In a little valley he saw the heather burning, and fire spreading fast towards an ant-hill, and on the ants were hurrying to and fro, and not knowing where to go. And Gedwar had pity on them, and put out the fire. And in gratitude the ants brought him the 9 bushels of flax seeds, which Yspaddaden Penkawr had required of Gilch. And many of the other marvels were done likewise by Arthur and his knights, and at last it came to the fight with Terror the boar, to obtain the comb and the scissors and the razor that lay between his ears. But hard was the boar to catch, and fiercely did they fight when Arthur's men gave him battle, so that many of them were slain. Up and down the country went Terror the boar, and Arthur followed after him until they came to the Severn Sea. There 3 knights caught his feet unawares and plunged him into the water, while one snatched the razor from him, and another seized the scissors. But before they had laid hold of the comb, he had shaken them all off, and neither man nor horse nor dog could reach him till he came to Cornwall, whither Arthur had sworn he should not go. There Arthur followed him and with his knights, and if it had been hard to win the razor and scissors, the struggle for the comb was fiercer still. Often it seemed as if the boar would be the victor, but at length Arthur prevailed, and the boar was driven into the sea, and whether he was drowned or whence he went, no man knows to this day. In the end all the marvels were done, and Kilwich set forward with him the son of Kilydd to Yspaddaden Penkawr, bearing in their hands the razor, the scissors, and the comb. Yspaddaden Penkawr was shaved by Cobb. "Is that daughter mine now?" asked Kilwich. "She is thine," answered Yspaddaden, "but it is Arthur and none other who has won thee for her. Of my own free will thou shouldst never have had her, but now I must lose my life." And as he spake, Gorud, the son of Kilydd, cut off his head, as it was ordained, and Arthur's hosts returned, each man to his own country.